What's up, mister? Good morning.
There we are. So we were off for Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a nice Thanksgiving, and welcome back to the podcast. How was your Thanksgiving, Mr. Kaufman?
It was wonderful. You know, we do very non-traditional Thanksgivings at my house. We basically have the guests pick a country, and then we cook the cuisine from that country. We don't really do. Because I have 3 different Thanksgivings that I have to attend, so yeah. I figure I'm not gonna start it off at my house with traditional Thanksgiving. So yeah, it was good. How about you?
So it was good. It was nice and quiet. We usually go to Colorado, where my in-laws are. We did not do that this year, so we stayed home and had a restful, quiet Thanksgiving for a change. So it was good. It was good. Now we're back at it. Now it went by like that. It seems like, okay, we're gonna take a little break from stuff here. It was just like I turn around and it's Friday, December 6th. I turned around and it's Friday, December 6th. So Friday.
That's not it, man. That's not it. It's once you hit 50, every day is a blur.
Yeah, that's true too. It's all downhill, right? As they say.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. My name's Jeff Kaufman, joined over here by Mr. Ken Rossix, my colleague over at Sub2Empire. And we've had a ton of time to think about today's topic. But to be very honest, we didn't come up with it until yesterday. So actually, you came up with it yesterday.
Well, we were thinking.
We've got a lot going on right now.
That's right.
We got a ton going on.
Yeah.
So I thought today we would talk a little bit about something that at Sub2Empire and in my personal business and Ken's business as well. It's basically a 6-step process that we follow, and something that we also teach to all of our students. It's a incredibly important process. It seems very simple, but it's we call it the ultimate creative real estate investing blueprint. And it's really it's 6 steps that kind of encompasses not just each particular deal that you're going to do, but also encompasses a kind of a whole business model, like how you run a creative real estate investing business. And I said it's fairly simple. Simple is not always easy, but this is a very simple roadmap to follow. And it's one of those things that a lot of times I talk about, especially to our students. I talk about, we'll have a coaching call or something, and the student will say they'll get all wrapped around the axle about the end game, like what if I buy this, if I got this lead, what if I do with this lead? What if I get it under contract? Well, if I get it under contract, how am I going to fund it? And then, oh my gosh, what's going to be my exit? Like they get so wrapped around the axle about this, and I just have to, because I used to do the same thing. I did, and so this is why I kind of came up with this thing. But you have to stop, you have to slow down, and you have to step back. And for me, this 6-step process helps me to realize where I'm at in any particular deal.
Yeah.
And it calms me down, and it helps me to realize and accept that I need to complete this step before I move to the next step. And that's what it does for me. It's kind of a governor, I guess, if you will. It's stop getting ahead of yourself, stop overanalyzing, understand where you're at right now and what you have to accomplish. Once that's accomplished, you can move to the next step. And that's the way that I use it.
Yep.
I have a hard copy of it. I took it down from I had to put up this stupid light because it's getting dark earlier, and my coaching calls are at night. So I when I get on the coaching call, it's like all doom and gloom. So I had to put this light up here, but I do have a hard copy of it that I would normally keep right in front of me here on the wall. But helpful, super helpful tool.
My hard copy is right here, by the way, kids. Here, it's right there on my wall too. Can I just go back for a second though, and just say how important something? I don't want to gloss over this because you described me for my first 5. Like I don't want to admit this, but probably my first 5, 6, maybe 7 years of real estate investing. Like analysis paralysis was my middle name.
Yep.
Right. I'd sit here and look at stuff and put it on the spreadsheet, and then I'd say, Then I put it in a different spreadsheet and see if the numbers came out to be close. And I was like, okay, that's probably pretty good numbers then. And by the time I did all that, damn thing's gone.
Yep. Deal's gone. 100%.
Get it under contract. That's right.
Yeah.
You just say, and then the fear really starts then. And then I thought to myself, well, shit, if I get all these things under contract, what am I going to do with them now? Yeah. Like, now I got a real problem because now I got to figure out how I'm going to close it and how I'm going to, like, just what you said. It's just like, man, you got to take a deep breath. That's why I love the blueprint. Like when I first got in, I was like, yep, that's going right there, because just to remember where you are, stay in your lane, then move to the next lane, then move to the next lane, and move to the next lane. Yeah. So
it's not what any of the students want to hear either. It's like, you know, they and I totally get it, because I was exactly the same way, but it's not what they want to hear. But that's not, I guess that's not, coaching is not about giving them what they want to hear. It's what needs to be done. It's guiding them through that process. And I think this is just an excellent, simple to follow, excellent tool to do that.
Yep.
So go ahead. Were you going to say something?
And also too, I just want to say, if you want a hard copy, like, we'll give you a hard copy of that. You got to make a comment though. Right, you got to interact with us in order to get the hard copy. So in the comments, or wherever you're watching this, or even if you're watching it later, put in the comments, because I do look at all the comments later in all the different channels. Like, we get notified of all that. Put in the comments, just put blueprint in the comments, and I will find you, and I will get you the hard copy of the blueprint if you want.
Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to put in something in the chat.
Oh yeah, I forget about the chat all the time. I do too. That's a good call.
Not sure how they'll get that though. We'll have to figure out that delivery mechanism.
I'll find them.
Okay.
We have a shared copy in our drive, so I could just send them a link to it if need be.
For a copy of the blueprint. There we go. Let's see. There you go. Look at that. All right.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, Doc. So I thought maybe we'd let's just go ahead and let's bring up a copy of it. You want to do that? You want to see what the
go ahead. You have one handy? You want me to bring it up?
I do. Give me one second here. Now I'm using Firefox. I'll tell you what. Why don't you bring it up? Because Firefox doesn't allow me just to share that screen. I've got a million windows open here. Can you bring it up?
Hold on. Yeah, bear with me just for a minute. I'll actually bring it up in a different thing, and it'll look better when it shares. So just give me 1 second here, and I'll bring it up.
What is going on here? Man, it just doesn't fire. I think I'm gonna have to use a different browser next time we do this, because
I am using I'm using Firefox too, but I'll share. I know what you're saying in there. I'll share it in a different thing and bring it hold up, because I've got the original PDF copy of it. I'll get it here. Just 1 second here.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to have to not use Firefox for this anymore.
Yes, bear with me. I am nearly there after the clicking through the
50
rabbit hole of the. Yeah. Let me make it a little bigger. There we go. Okay. I think
There
it's
it is.
coming. Do you see it?
Yep. Did it disappear?
It went off the screen. Hold
There it
on.
goes. There
There
you
it
go.
is.
You're on. There we go. Wow. Okay.
I think it kicked us off the screen though, so
Yeah, that's cool. I'm all right with
that's
that.
all right. That's okay. So here it is. Like you said, it's the ultimate creative real estate investing blueprint there, and here are the 6 steps. So yeah, I will just spend a little time on each step. Then I guess is the plan. So generate leads. So Mr. Kaufman, you are the guru, the lead generation guru. So what would you like to say here?
Well, I would like to say on step one, obviously, if you don't have leads, well, I take that back. Really, contracts or inventory in our business. But if you don't have leads, you are that's not a good one, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll work.
yeah, we'll leave it like that. Sorry.
But there's a saying that my mentor, my very first mentor, he told me. He says, "Those who have the leads rules. They rule. They rule the whole. I mean, obviously, without leads, you can't buy houses. You can't make any money without leads. So the trick to generating leads, though, is to and this was for me. I can speak from experience on this. Is to not go super crazy. And I'll give you an example. I ran Google Ads. My very first formal lead generation, was through Google Ads, and I got pretty darn good at it. The problem is, or the problem was, I've remedied that problem. When you're setting up Google Ads, the I tend to, I'm a squirrely dude, so I can be easily distracted. But I would be setting up these Google Ads, and I would say to myself, I'd be looking at the map on where I wanted to target these ads to what geographic locations, and I would, knowing the city as well as I do, or knowing our market as well as I do, I would say to myself, man, this looks like a really good spot. And then next thing I know, oh, I can't forget this one. This one's super important. I got to go here. Oh, and wait a minute. There's a few. I know this little area up here. I know it's a good little investor area. And before I knew it, I had this giant map of that just really sucked on my entire budget for my leads. Now that's on Google Ads. You can absolutely do the same thing if you're doing direct mail. A lot of people will especially a lot of new folks. Not to pick on you guys, but you think you have to go super super wide, and that is a strategy.
Yeah.
That is a strategy. So people go super wide and they take that low hanging fruit. But in order to maximize your marketing dollar, you have to understand literally. And I guess I can just kind of explain this through another example. But one of the lists that I used to mail quite often was the evictions list. I don't do that anymore because it's kind of a much longer play, a much longer play. But understanding, if you're going to mail the evictions list, it would be wise for you to understand exactly how evictions work, when evictions take place, when your mail needs to hit the mailbox. Obviously the areas that you want to buy in. If you're buying properties off the evictions list, there's a slight chance there that you're in an area that is a rental only. You need to know every aspect of that list that you're going to be mailing, because knowing all that stuff ultimately in the end is going to help you. It's going to stretch your marketing dollar much further, understanding the ins and outs of any particular list. And I've seen people absolutely go broke in marketing, just marketing, because they've just done too much. They've gone too far. They've gone too wide. They've stretched their marketing dollar so thin that, number one, they might be getting all these leads in, but now they've hindered themselves from actually closing those deals because they're stretched so thin. So Our advice today, now, knowing what I know now, is if you're just starting out, you pick two. You pick two marketing channels.
Yep. Less is
Right?
more.
Yep.
Yep.
Less is more, and go deep. Go as deep as you can. Figure out all the nuances and all the crazy little twists and turns on any particular marketing channel. It is a little bit of a it can be a little bit of a time consuming thing for you, but in the end, it's just like anything else. If you are an investor, it is almost always a long term play. That's what investment is. Now, unless you're, I, I, I say that, and we're flipping a couple houses right now,
Well,
yeah, but we're still, it's a long term thing. It's like we're not going to buy. And by the way, a wholesaler is not an investor. A wholesaler is a wholesaler. So we're not talking about wholesale. I'm
right.
talking about investing. Put in the effort up front. You create a quote a product that has value to the marketplace. Much like your marketing, if you can provide value to whomever you're marketing to, you are going to stretch that dollar much further. You're going to be much more successful, guaranteed. Almost 99% of the time, that's going to benefit you more. Going deep instead of going wide.
Yep. And just to take a step back too, so we say pick two marketing channels. Well, let's just give some examples just to make sure, especially somebody's newer, what we're talking about. You mentioned one, evictions, probate list, pre-foreclosures, divorce lists. These are channels that we're talking about that we can do. And here's shameless plug one. We've got all kinds of marketing courses about how to generate these leads, right? The lists, so to speak. And we've divided it up onto seller motivations, right? Is the seller motivated for financial reasons? In other words, it's in pre-foreclosure or something similar, or facing bankruptcy, or family motivations and all those things, going through a divorce, right? Or probate, there was a death in the family, all those things. Those are the channels we're talking about, right? Don't do them all. As Jeff mentioned, man, your budget will be blown. Just pick a couple that you're interested in and target that. Especially, we go through, right? Our twist is, okay, let's try to figure out how to do that creatively. It's a sub-2 deal, or it's a seller finance deal, or whatever, to acquire it. So that's what's in the marketing courses there. So that's what we mean by generate leads.
I'm going to throw one up on the screen here. I'm really going to muck up this. Our screen is going to look kind of.
Oh, here, let me stop. You want to share yours? So let me stop. Oh, no, there you go. Oh, perfect. That's okay.
Actually, I'm going to throw it on the side here. So this is this particular course here is called Fast Tracking Lead Generation, and it's literally just we put this together for newer folks who are looking for absolutely the fastest way to start generating leads. That's what this is all about. And I mean, we have some pretty creative stuff in there. We have stuff inside this course that is, for those of you who may not have the marketing capital that you need right up front, we have ways inside this course that you can start generating leads with very little money out of pocket. Now, there's always a trade-off there. That trade-off is you either have time or you have money. Fortunately, in this particular course, we actually cover both of those. So if you have a little bit of cash that you can throw at your marketing, you'll find some really useful information for those types of folks, and you also find the information for folks who have, on the other hand, they have very little cash, but they have time on their hands. So yeah, that's it.
That's a good one. Yeah, no, you're right. That's a really good one. Yeah. For 85, look at that, $85. Holy smokes! Seems like you were lowering those prices. Yeah. I was like, holiday pricing. it's all good. Yeah. That's a good one.
I'll tell you about that. I went ahead and lowered that for us, but now I'm messing with it. Now, all right. Okay, so let's talk about step 2. Ken, you want to take that one, or you want me to continue to?
Well, I think that so the qualifying leads is where people get scared a lot, right? You got to go talk to the seller, right? It's either on the phone or in person. So let's, or probably both, to be honest, right? It's an initial phone call, and then you need to go in person. Like, I don't do, like, one of my general rules, especially on a deal like this, is Like I want to look the person in the face, right? I need to see the person, right? And because what I'm trying to do in the seller, right? What's the number one thing we're trying to do? We need to build trust. How do you build trust? Well, you have to be open and honest, and you got to look people in the eye, right? So that's what I like to do with the sellers, and talk about, okay, what's the situation? What can we do to help? Right? And is the seller really motivated? Because you get a lot of leads and they're not you got to qualify, right? The step two is qualifying the leads. You have to qualify the lead. In other words, what is their motivation? Are they really motivated? That's the question that you have to answer, and you have to talk to them in order to get that, right? And of course, we have a script and a sheet where you can get some basic preliminary information that you can pull and all that too. But they might not really want to. Maybe they want to sell, maybe they don't, right? But you have to determine that. And what's the pain point? Right, Jeff, you're actually a master at this. Like, you can figure out in very short order what that pain point is and how to solve the problem. This is about figuring out the pain point, looking people in the eye, and solving their problem. Right, that's the qualifying the lead. Sorry, that's probably a little more detailed than just step two there, but
Well,
that's
I actually want to dig into that just a touch more, and
sure,
really give maybe provide a little bit of a nugget on that, on this topic, because I personally happen to think that before you ever even look, as you say, look someone in the eye, I like to pre-qualify. In fact, I like to pre-unqualify people if I can.
Yes, that's a better way to say it. Yes, yeah, to disqualify. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, this is where Kim was talking about the seller, the script. Using a script. Basically, a really good a well-written script. By the time you reach the end of that script, and by the way, nothing wrong with using scripts at all, especially in the beginning. I don't particularly use a script any longer because I kind of have that memorized in my head now. But the goal with that script is to disqualify, attempt to disqualify as much as you possibly can over the phone, so you're not wasting your time driving around, going to these seller appointments that are not going to be fruitful. And so I think that would be point number one. And then also, I really like the idea of like pre-appointment agreements, or what's another way to say that?
It's the seller meeting, right? You have some understandings up front. That's the first level of trust and rapport to establish, right? Can we have some understandings going into this meeting, like, right? Because it's my time and I want to honor your time, so let's have some upfront understanding. That's right.
Yeah. So something you might say to a seller is, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, if I drive all the way out there, I kind of need to know, is this something that you're just kind of kicking the tires on? Are you sure you're ready to sell? If I come out there and we can come to an agreement, would you sign a contract with me today? And if the answer is yes, then you definitely want to book that appointment.
Yep.
Anything other than a yes, I think with that is 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be wasting your time. So maybe not always. You might have a feel for it. You might have a feel that you can possibly convert them into a seller, but boy, it sure is nice to have those upfront agreements before you jump in your car and waste your gas and your time and all that good stuff. So,
right. And just because they're not a warm lead, right? Cold leads become warm over time. Mm-hmm. It's all in the follow up, right? As our friend and one of our, right, the first podcast episode, as Miss Laura would say, right? The fortune's in the follow up. So right, cold leads become warm leads. You just have to nurture that and follow up, right? Which most people don't, honestly speaking, right? Most people don't.
Yeah. She's she's next level follow up. I mean,
she's
multiple deals of hers closed over years. It's amazing. Yeah. She's amazing. Yeah. All right. So step 3. First of all, I want you to notice here. Conventional wisdom, and most people are going to tell you that step 3 and step 4 should be switched around.
Yep.
This is something that we do a little differently here. That's what we teach this a little bit differently, because
it's the
As I like to say, yeah, step 3. As I like to say, the inventory in our business is contracts. If you do not have a contract, if you do not have multiple contracts, you do not have a business, period. This is a hobby for you, and you're wasting your time. I really do believe that. So step 3 for us is actually getting it under contract. We have like a little preliminary evaluation. Like, we're going to look at comps. We're going to get a feel for
comps,
the area.
right? Sure.
But we're not going to deep dive into something that and waste all of that time unless we know that there is an end game, unless we know that there is a real chance at us being able to buy and close on a deal. So for us, step 3 is always get it under contract. I always say to, some people don't like this. I get kickback about this, but it's very, very common in the real estate, whether it's on the retail side or on the investor side. It is very, very common for deals to be renegotiated. You kind of want to make your best effort using this strategy. You want to make your best effort at getting everything right. But even if you were to switch step 3 and step 4 around, and you evaluated that deal, you spent all that time evaluating that deal, and then you made your final offer on the contract, there's likely going to be changes to that contract anyway. So this I learned very early on as well, because I think, Ken, like you were saying at the very beginning of this, you go through evaluating the deal is where the analysis paralysis really starts. That's where it gets super dangerous, because you can underwrite a deal and absolutely talk yourself out of it before even seeing the house, because you're so worried about the numbers. So this is just a little mind trick to get folks to actually do something, get a property under contract. You can evaluate the deal in the next step. If there's something that you don't like about that deal, you can renegotiate that contract, but you cannot make money in this business if you don't have a contract, period.
Or you can cancel the contract.
Yeah.
Which means you need to have the contract that has appropriate clauses that let you to do that, like our contracts do, right? So that's a whole separate thing. But I also want to say that step 3, getting under contract, is important, because this is the creative real estate investing blueprint, not the guru normal real estate investing blueprint. And as Jeff mentioned, we'd love for you, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, by all means, swap those 2 steps, right? Evaluate the deal. While you're evaluating the deal for 3 or 4 days and figuring it out, Jeff and I will have it under contract. It's no problem. Like, go ahead and do that. By all means, we would love for you to do that, because we'll be scheduling closing by the time you get done with your analysis paralysis.
Yeah, I don't even on our coaching calls, I don't even like talking about. We will run comps. We will help to run comps. We'll help keep people kind of look at the possibility, some of the possibilities. But it doesn't really make sense to waste your time doing that if you don't have a means, if you don't have the means or a strategy for actually signing that deal up and getting it under contract. It doesn't make any sense. So this is not conventional wisdom, but I'm telling you, this is by far a better way to operate, and it has been for me, for sure. So
for sure. And also, too, another thing, like, let's not gloss over this. It's important to get into the property, because when the seller tells you that, oh, the repairs are probably $15,000 or $20,000, it needs updating and repair, it's probably 40. So just double that number. So you need to get your eyeballs on the property, right? And then you can have a more intelligent discussion about what especially if the goal of the seller meeting is to get the property under contract. Like, don't go, as Jeff mentioned, don't go and set it up unless you think that's going to be a high probability of getting a contract.
Yeah.
And after you can see the property, then you can kind of ballpark your offer price, right? We would suggest doing multiple different offer strategies, right? The creative way. But you can then, bring it down and say, okay, I was thinking that, this might have been 150, but I can see the condition of the property. It's going to be more like 140. Like, you can just do that in your head there. And then, of course, as Jeff mentioned, when you actually do full inspections, if that's something that you need to do, then you can renegotiate the contract. Always renegotiate it. People are used to doing that. The flip side of that, though, Jeff, and I'm sure you see this a lot, is people give a ridiculously stupid ass lowball number because they know they're going to jack it up later in the renegotiation phase. Mm-hmm. That's being a little dishonest, right? We're not suggesting that at all. Yep. And if something does come up that is a major issue, there's walls in the basement and you can't see the crack, right? The foundation crack behind it, and right, necessarily. So things come up that need to be renegotiated, but don't lowball with the lowball when you know that that's a bunch of nonsense. So
yeah, I do want to before we move past this step, though, I do want to touch once again. We've talked about it many times before.
Yeah.
That very last bullet point, recording an affidavit of agreement. Tons and tons of controversy around this because we had some really bad actors out there that were using this tool, this affidavit agreement, or otherwise, well, we have an affidavit agreement, we have a memorandum of agreement as well. Essentially, they accomplish the same thing. But we've had a bunch of bad actors out there that have absolutely abused this tool. And this is not, we first of all, we would never, ever push that issue, having people going out and recording affidavits or memorandums of agreement just willy-nilly. It is a very serious issue. There's something called slander of title that you can absolutely be accused of and can cost a lot of money to defend yourself against. So an affidavit of agreement or memorandum of agreement, if you don't know, is nothing more than a recording that's announcing to the world that you have an agreement, you have a contract on a property, you're entered into an agreement to purchase a property from a seller. That's all that it is.
Yep.
And we only do it, number one, if we have both the means and the intention of closing on that deal. That is the only time you ever use it. I will tell you that there has been numerous occasions. We've had students also with that have experienced the exact same thing, where, let's say it's a house that we've got under contract. We've evaluated the deal. We've decided that, it's not a deal for us, but we may have another buyer for it, and we'll present that situation to the seller and ask for, tell the seller, hey, I'm not going to be interested in this. I might have a buyer for you. I'd like to send them over here to take a look at this house. And once you get that approval, what I do is I don't even show up anymore. I just step out of the way and let that buyer go over there and speak with the seller. Now I realize that's not what everybody does, but I know that I can do that. I have that tool. I don't have to be in the way. I don't have to be a middleman anymore because I have an affidavit of agreement recorded or a memorandum of agreement recorded. Right. So I can allow my buyers to come in, speak directly with the seller, and and know that they are not going to go around me and attempt to subvert the deal that I have already secured. Right. So the real issue comes in when you get so deep into a deal that you've spent all this time and money and effort to get this property under contract, that, or you've spent a sufficient amount enough time that you determine, or you think, well, I need to be paid for this. If I'm going to find a buyer for this, it's like anything else. If I'm going to find a buyer to purchase this contract, well, I need to be paid for that. And a way to ensure and I won't say guarantee, but a way to ensure that you do get paid from that transaction is by having a recorded affidavit of agreement. That's all I'm going to say about it. I use them. I love them. We like to say that we don't even have something under contract unless it's got a recorded affidavit or memorandum of
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's a great tool when used appropriately. It's a great tool.
Yes, not just yeah. Yes. Well, so let's just pause there for a second too. So it's about integrity,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're not running your business with integrity, then really nothing else matters because your intent is to screw over people, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. So um,
You'll pay
treat
for it in the long run, for sure.
treat people, especially in real estate, treat people appropriately. That's all. That's all I'll say about that, right?
Yep.
Do what you say you're going to do. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't make shit up.
Yep. All right.
All right. Should we pause here though? So we're halfway through, right? And we're just giving a high level overview of this process. And as Jeff mentioned, this is kind of the process that we use in our business, the roadmap. This is how the Creative Finance Academy is structured inside the modules. They're kind of structured on this roadmap too. But we also have, right, here's shameless plug too, Mr. Kaufman. We also have an entire course where we took a really deep dive over a 2-day period into the blueprint and real world case studies. So here's a property we had. Here's the different pieces for this particular property. We went through, and it was a really deep dive. Really good reviews on that. So if you want it, as Mr. Kaufman just put it up there on the screen too. So that is an entire course where we go over everything, deep dive, real world case studies, right? Remember, we're a couple of real guys doing real deals out here, right? This isn't made up nonsense that we're just going to say, oh, this looks good and pretty. No, this is actually what we do and what we use. And that course goes into the real deep dive. So
yeah, it gets very, very detailed. Like if you're someone who if you're someone who doesn't appreciate detail, you just like high level stuff, then it's not for you. It is a breakdown of literally every single one of these steps. Like this is extremely high level. What you're seeing on the blueprint there is extremely high level. But we break down lead generation into different marketing strategies and advice on that. And I can't remember. I mean, it was just so much information. Like you could probably just take this particular course and really jumpstart your real estate investing business. So yeah. I just want to throw that up there, let you guys know that that's available out there. You can always visit our website, sub2empire.com, to check out any of the other stuff we've got. But
yeah, with all the inclusions and details and contracts we include absolutely.
Yep. Okie doke. Right. We ready to jump into evaluation?
Yeah, evaluate the deal. Well, this is, as you mentioned, this is the typical analysis paralysis one too. But now, right, hopefully some of the analysis paralysis will just magically mindset go away, as you mentioned, because you have the contract. Okay, I have the contract now. I need to make sure that this is going to be a deal for me. So now you kind of have a little different mindset evaluating the deal, where you just don't, I'm going to look at the numbers, and I'm going to run the numbers again, I'm going to run the numbers again, I'm going to run the numbers again. You have the property under contract. So let's run the numbers and figure out what it looks like, right? And of course, running the numbers. What does run the numbers mean? Get a good calculator, right? So we have a great subject to calculator. It's free on our website. Go and get that for subject to specifically kind of designed for subject to properties. That's fine too. If you're looking to just do straight flip properties, get a great rehab calculator. We also have those here inside our stuff. But figure out what works for you and what makes sense, right? Everybody's set up a little different. Everybody has these little different ins and outs. But get a tool that you understand, can use quickly and easily, and is accurate, right?
By the way, yeah. I want to also mention that if you go back, I can't remember if that was the last podcast that we did or the one before that, where we talked about due diligence and our due diligence checklist. The due diligence checklist, am I sticking my foot in my mouth here? Did we offer that?
We did, but they had to make comments. Nobody made any comments. So,
Well, there you go. But this is where those due diligence checklists really come into, is because evaluating a deal is much more than just the dollars. I mean, the dollars are very important. Don't get me wrong, but actually understanding where where problems in the deal might arise, whether that be if it's property related, or maybe it's the municipality or the county, or maybe you have an HOA. All kinds of things can pop up in this evaluation thing, and it's like I said, the money is fine, it's good. It's probably the simplest thing though to actually figure out. Like that's probably, if you have the correct tools, like our calculator, it's one of the easier things to figure out. You'll know if you're profitable or potentially profitable in a matter of minutes if you have a good tool. But it's all of the other little things that that a lot of people overlook. And not to pick on wholesalers, but I'm going to, because I always do. I always have that disclaimer. But this is one of the things that that actual investors, like real buyers, have the luxury of understanding, and have the luxury of I say it's a luxury. It's a little bit of a job, but they have the tools to be able to actually really evaluate a deal, and where dollars and cents might make sense to a wholesaler. Real simple terms, right? Like I say, if you're going to make money on it, you likely know that, but actually getting into the weeds and figuring out, looking at every aspect of that potential long-term obligation that you're going to have, is where step four in this process really is really going to set you apart and really make you successful. All right.
I'd also say too, your calculator should have exit strategies kind of built into it if it's a good calculator, like ours does, or subject to one. Now, obviously, if you're doing straight fix and flips, like that may not necessarily be the case, but you want to know, can I sell or finance this on a wrap or a contract for deed? What's that tab look like, right? Our calculator has that. What does it look like if I do want to flip this, right? What might that look like? We have that tab in there too. What if it's a straight rental, right? So you want to know, which leads right into the exit strategies. You want to know that. So now you can take your calculator that you're comfortable with and look at those different scenarios and figure out which one is the most profitable.
Yep.
I say that because typically on a good deal, they're all going to be profitable. So the question is which one is most profitable and what fits your business model? Your exit strategy might be answered before you ever, because you just want to buy and hold rental property. Maybe that's what you want to do. That's your exit strategy. Okay, then you need to have your marketing that looks for properties that will fit that exit strategy, right? So it might be very simple for you, but it also might be, you might need a good tool or a good calculator that kind of populates that for you so you can see the difference between some of those different exit strategies.
Yeah, I have a little bit of an argument for the money part. Like I said before, you can really, the money you can figure out. But for me, step number 5, exit strategies, is first of all determining what that exit strategy is. You said something. You can determine which one's going to be most profitable. In my case, I 100% know that a rental property, with its tax benefits and its depreciation and all that stuff, is going to be ultimately more profitable than what my favorite exit strategy is, which is seller finance. I love seller finance. But profitability, while insanely important, for me, I think that a much more headache-free lifestyle is more important than making a few extra bucks. So I choose to go down the seller finance path almost always. I think it's it's just for me, it just frees up more of my time. I don't have the stress of owning rental properties, and it's just a fair trade-off for me.
Yep.
But so on exit strategy, and actually, if you go through the, if we're looking at this particular course again, exit strategy is more than just about, it's more than just about figuring out what exit strategy best fits you. It's actually deep diving. We actually deep dive into strategies and methods for marketing for that particular exit strategy. So,
Yep.
so for example, if I'm going to do seller finance, I need to find a buyer, right? I got to find buyers. I prefer to stay off the MLS if at all possible. Actually, I was just talking to, I think I was talking on our call on Tuesday night, our coaching call. I was talking about somebody had mentioned possibly listing a property they've got under contract, and I'm sorry, actually he owns it. He purchased it. He closed on it, and talked about listing it on the MLS. And I just, I bent the rules a little bit on the last one that I did, and I decided I would go ahead and work with this particular agent. Do you know it took me 4 months to close that deal because of dealing with this agent? And so it just reinforced to me, like, I am not going to deal with agents. But my point is that you need to understand that there's no blanket marketing strategy once you figure out your exit. So in this particular course, we actually walk through exit strategies based upon, marketing strategies based upon what exit you're taking.
Yep.
And
the different
yeah, everyone has a different philosophy on this, on picking an exit strategy as well. Conventional wisdom would tell you that, you go out, you find a property, maybe it needs work, you close on it with hard money, you get it fixed up, you get a tenant in it, you rent it for a little while, and you refinance it.
Yep, burn it out. Yeah.
But we kind of flip that on its head a little bit. First of all, we have creative acquisition strategies. So generally speaking, we don't require hard money most of the time.
That's the goal anyway, right?
Yeah. And then we have a little bit more creative exit strategies as well that really, what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of contrast, or not contrast. Is that?
Well, it benefits everyone.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's not the traditional way of thinking. So you have to change your marketing to find the buyer that fits that mold, right? Or that's looking for that particular type of property. Yeah, that's so important. But also too, I don't want to gloss over something you said too. And we say this a lot, or at least I think, like, in my head I hear it, but sometimes I don't know if I say it out loud. Like, your exit strategy needs to align with your business goal and purpose.
100%.
Period. Full stop.
Not just business goals. I mean,
absolutely.
I can talk about that all day, but really, you really do have to think. This is really where you really have to think about what your goals for even having this business are. I mean, you really have to. And I always start with personal goals. It means nothing to me. Like, everyone, you can have business goals and what have you. You have these kind of arbitrary numbers floating around out there about, what you want to make and how much you want to make. But for me, it doesn't, none of that matters if I don't have a life, to enjoy that stuff. So I always start off with personal goals. Like, what do I really want to be doing? My primary personal goal is, if folks don't know this, but I'm a grandfather a few times over. And, one of my goals is I want to be able, my grandkids live each in two different parts of the country, one's in California, one's in Georgia. And it's like, I want to be able to, at any given time, anytime that I want to be able to hop on a plane and go out and visit. That's what I want to do. Like, I mean, that might seem shallow to some people, or not a very lofty goal, but that is what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to have the time to be able to do that. So how do I back that how do I back engineer, reverse engineer that whole process? And so having a personal goal um, from the outset enables me to come in here every time I sit down at my desk. It enables me to put my nose, put my head down and drive forward in my business. So now I can set business goals. And if those business goals are to have X amount of seller finance properties, now I know what I need to do. I mean, it becomes very, very clear. So I got on a little rant about that, but I think it really does apply to step 5, because
Yep.
you have to have the exit that helps you ultimately achieve those both business goals and then ultimately your personal goals.
Yep.
So
Totally
I don't mean
on
to get
point.
emotional on people, but that's the way it is.
Totally on point.
Yeah.
And that leads us into step 6, close the deal. In all honesty, this should be the simplest step, because you should be working with a title company you know and trust, and you should have your, uh, I think Jeff, you calls it your closing package that the title company already knows. Like, you already send all. So here's the information I send to the title company. Here's what I need them to do. Like, you should have that relationship. Obviously, if you're starting out, you don't have that relationship, but you need to build it. So hopefully, step 6 actually will be the easiest one. Now, I just want to point out something there. You see there's different bold spots here on the ones. So the bold one here on step 6, close the deal, is expect something to go wrong, right? There could be a roadblock. Maybe there's some kind of cloud on title when the title company pulled it, title commitment or whatever, right? Expect there to be a roadblock. So it seems to me, whenever you expect that, nothing happens and it's smooth as silk, right?
Just mentally prepare for it, because it's
That's
coming.
right.
Guarantee it.
Just-
Almost
just
every
be
deal
ready.
there's something.
Right.
Yeah.
Be
Very
ready.
few cookie cutter deals.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, this goes back to, if you have a good title company, they will help you address whatever that issue might be. Yeah.
I think, in fact, it's the same guy in our coaching program that I was just talking about that closed on that deal. Um, he took some advice, and this is something I did early on to you're talking about establishing a good relationship with a title company. You would be really surprised how far a dozen donuts will get you with a title company. It's like,
Oh God, yeah.
yeah, I mean, just building a relationship, and that's what I did. I used to go to bread company called Panera Bread now, but it used to be called St. Louis Bread Company, and I'd pick up a bag of bagels and take them into the title company that I wanted to work with. And I'll tell you, to this day,
Yep.
I don't really speak with the title company anymore at this point. I simply send over. I have a closer over there that I have a really, really good relationship with. I send what I call my closing package. It's anytime I do a deal, I have certain documents that need to be signed. I send them straight to her. I don't talk to her unless it's absolutely necessary, unless there's something weird that pops up. Um, but that's how these relationships are built. They're just, don't sit on your hands and expect someone to just jump through hoops with you. You have to network. You have to get out there. And the title company is a kind of a perfect example of what I'm talking about. These people, if you expect to have good service, you've got to reciprocate that type of that type of attitude, and that just bring out your networking abilities, and it doesn't have to be donuts, for crying out loud. We're a low carb society right now, right? But
Well,
but
I was just going to say, I send edible arrangements, edible arrangements from the fruit and all of that stuff too. But you're so right. I brought, you will, to this day, I can go to like 3 different title companies, and I can send a message to the person there and just say, hey, I need a little help with this, and can you do that? They literally, I shit you not, stop what they're doing and help me.
Yeah.
Every time. Not just once or twice, every time. It's amazing. Yeah.
I get stuff recorded for free if I need it recorded.
Yep.
All kinds of.
Notarized and recorded. Nobody, she goes, Well, we're sending a bunch to be recorded. We'll just put it in there in the batch. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Yep. 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 Yeah. So one thing I do want to talk about on closing is that bullet point number one. Since we're giving away little nuggets in each one of these things, the very best funding that you can get on a deal is one that is provided by the seller. Number one,
Yep.
you're not dealing with banks, and number two, you're generally getting the best terms when you're dealing with a seller.
Yep. For sure.
So never ever never forget that. This is why it also happens to be um, the sole basis for this entire our entire YouTube channel, our coaching program, the whole nine yards, and that is seller provided financing, whether that be subject to or straight seller carry type stuff. Um, but yeah, I will say probably one of the very last, which this is going to be a little ironic because a lot of new people that get into this business, we're all told that if you go out and find a property, you go find hard money, right? You go
Yeah.
and we're lenders. We lend hard money, so I mean there's no shortage of business, right? I mean, like, hard money is a really, first of all, it's a nice business to get into, but hard money is the most expensive money that you are going to find anywhere. It is super expensive, and so all I'm trying to get at is think outside the box. Start thinking outside the box. Start picking up these deals creatively, and let the if you can. And Ken, in fact, Ken talked about that multiple offer strategy a little bit ago, and one of those almost every single offer that we give is there's going to be some sort of a seller finance option in there. And that's always going to be the cheapest for you. It's always going to be the best terms that you can possibly get. Hard money is going to be the order of precedence here is going to be seller finance. It's going to be private money, and I'm talking truly private money, not like your big your lenders. What do you call those? Like I don't want to name them by name, but like the institutional funds types of lenders. That's not private money either. That's a lender. I'm talking about real private money from individuals, like what you were for me when we first met.
Right.
Real, and then so you get the best terms, and then your next one is going to be those kind of institutional, like your. Do I want to say them by name? I don't know if I can or not. But like
You can give some examples, like Lima One's an institutional private lender. RCN's an institutional private lender, like those people. And
Yeah.
when you say private money, you're talking about individuals. Like they're gonna lend out of their self-directed IRA, or they're
Yep.
going to get funds from a whole life insurance policy that they have sitting there, or they just have money sitting around that they want to put to work. Right? Individuals,
Yep.
not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in order, we're talking seller. First of all, you try and make your seller your financier. First of all, like right off the bat, that should be your first option. Second is going to be private money. Third is going to be your funds, your institutional funds, your Kiavis and Lending Tree and all that good stuff. And then the very last one that you want to use, and by the way, I'm not including banks in here at all because most banks is just such a headache that you don't even want to deal with it unless you have to refinance. I mean, it's just such a headache.
Yeah, unless you want a long-term refinance, right?
Yeah. And then your very last source of funding should be hard money, just because of its expense. It is so freaking expensive. It's just crazy. So yeah, I think that's really all I got on the closing on step 6. You got anything you want to add?
No, I will stop sharing my thing. Again, we just wanted to give a high-level overview. I think we succeeded at that. The details, right, as you mentioned, are in the course. Like, you're right. I mean, that is a nuts and bolts deep dive into it's really kind of organized. At least the second day, if I recall correctly, is organized off of the case studies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it should give you some idea.
Yep.
Yeah. You should have an idea. It was 2. I can't remember. I can't remember if that one or the 2-day power course was it actually 2 days or was it or did we start on? No, we did. We did on a Saturday morning, a Saturday and a Sunday. We on a weekend.
Saturday, Sunday, yeah, yep.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got 6 topics there to talk about, and it took us 2 days to explain it all. And these are full days. These are not, you know.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, it's a full day.
Extremely deep. Extremely deep. All right, man. Any announcements? Anything we want to throw out there?
Yes, you see, for all those people that bonus stayed at the end too, just know the Corporate Transparency Act, the requirements of LLC reporting, well, business reporting, including LLCs, under the Corporate Transparency Act, any pre-existing LLCs that were in place prior to January 1st, 2024, had to report under this act by January 1, 2025. What do they have to report? They have to report who actually owns it, who's benefiting from the business, et cetera, et cetera. A federal court has put an injunction and stayed that, so that requirement is no longer in place as of the time we're.
Well, it's in place, but it's stayed.
It stayed, right? They cannot enforce it because of constitutional concerns. Well, go figure. I could have told you that and not wasted all this money filing suit, right?
In fact, I think
that has no hope of actually stopping money laundering.
Yeah, but, I think that you actually did say that. I think those are literally the words you said.
But sometimes I think it comes out. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, I have a combination of hope that something like this would happen, and maybe a little procrastination in there as well. But but I
was 100% waiting. I knew the lawsuit had been filed. Actually, there were more than one. This is the one that just happened to go through the fastest, I suppose. Right? I was for sure waiting. Like I wasn't going to do anything till December 31st.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. So very cool. I really do. I'm super grateful for that. I was so reluctant to. I don't know. It just never ends up well. It never turns out well when they do stuff like this, and they keep wanting to just, they keep wanting to just take and take and take, and it's tiring. It's maddening.
Yes.
So I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah, but, I am. Yes, I am also grateful. Speaking in the vein of Thanksgiving, and looking very much forward to perhaps the 3-ring clown show circus that has been in place for 4 years, getting at least a little better. Right,
we'll see.
That's hope. A little better. That's what I'm going for.
There's some interesting appointments going on. I mean, I'm watching that like a hawk. I could care less about about the big orange guy in charge, but I'm really not concerned. Concerned's not the right word. I'm really intrigued by these appointments. Most of them I know, but no, I just think that that's where the rubber meets the road, is these appointments. So
yes,
be very interesting.
Yes, and I'll leave it at that, especially from your appointments where the work actually gets done in the government. I think that we have actually decided that competence matters. And so I think that's what you're seeing in some of it. Not all, but I think a lot, at least some of them that I've seen, like, that guy's pretty competent. Or that lady, she's pretty competent. Like, I've heard that name before. Like, I can look at that up. She's pretty competent.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I think they're all nuts. I think they're all crazy for wanting to do any of this stuff. But hey,
we'll see.
I'll just sit back and see what happens.
That's right. That's all we can do, brother. Sit back and see what happens. But in the meantime, though, I think that we're going to have a strong, if not hot, real estate market moving into the spring. So buckle up and be ready, boys and girls. That's why we're doing the podcast. So hopefully tune in next week, and we'll see what we can figure out.
All right, guys. Like Ken said, 11 a.m. every Friday, 11 a.m. Central every Friday, right here, whatever channel you found us on. You can come back to that, or you can just go straight to our YouTube channel and subscribe.
That's right.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Ken, I will catch you later. And